What does it really take to make more sales in 2025? My guest today, world-renowned sales expert Wes Schaeffer, is about to show you how. In this episode, we dive into Wes's practical secrets to sales success to help you sign more clients and make more sales ASAP. Wes, welcome to the podcast.
How'd you do that? Did you already hit record? That was pretty good. It's got like the 5-second countdown. Were you recording earlier? I got to do that.
Yeah.
I'm too lazy because I don't edit. I just, boom. Okay. All right. I'm learning, man. That's good.
I love it. Well, I'm glad to have you here. And
good thing I wasn't picking my nose in the beginning. But anyway, you can cut that out. But or not. You know what I'm saying?
You know, we encourage nose picking here, so it's a nose
That's
friendly
what I
zone.
get for doing this first thing in the morning. I'm still not fully awake, so I didn't see the record.
That's all good, man. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm excited to dive in with you. So I was reading about your background before we hopped on here. How does someone in the Air Force, an Air Force vet, end up running a sales company, helping, companies and individuals improve their sales? I mean, it seems like quite a leap.
It's been 20 years, so it's now declassified. So I can talk about that, the sales training and mind-bending classes the Air Force gave me, okay? But y'all have to be sworn to secrecy. You can't share this for another 10 years. It's an unlikely path, huh? There was no sales or entrepreneurship training in the military. There's a lot of leadership, right? And discipline beat into you. You know, the beatings will continue till morale improves, that kind of thing. And you learn to get tough. And I wanted to be in sales. I wanted to make more money, and sales was the path. It was the obvious path. And so, I did my 5 years after the academy and jumped right into commission sales.
So what did being in the Air Force teach you about selling?
It didn't, I guess. It taught me about people, right? It taught me, 4 years at the Air Force Academy is an intense experiment, right? You get there on day one, they shave your head, everybody's yelling at you for a full year. You have a 6-week basic training, which is pretty physical. And then for a year, you are yelled at. I don't know if, where's the book? Where's the book? I used to have it on my shelf. Oh, I do have it. Stand by. We had to carry around this little book. It's called Contrails, and this is literally mine from 100 years ago. So we had to memorize this thing, and you can tell it's worn out. So we had to carry it in our back pocket, and it's filled with facts, all kind of facts, quotes. You can see I've got it highlighted. We had to memorize this entire book. And so any upperclassman, so sophomore, junior, senior, at any time could approach any freshman and say, give me John Stuart Mill's quote. War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. A decayed and degraded state of moral patriotic feeling which thinks that nothing is worth war is much worse. The person has nothing for which he is willing to fight. So from 1988, I can still quote, regurgitate that quote. And so they teach you how to, through that process, you get tough or you get gone. And then, so you learn that you can do a lot more than you thought you could. And then you have 3 years to practice being a leader. The sophomores are the primary trainers of the freshmen, the juniors supervise, the sophomores, and the seniors are supposed to oversee everything. And so, 4 years, you learn you can put up with a lot of BS and get through it with your humanity and your humor still intact, some dark humor. So indirectly, right? How does that relate to sales? It's like selling is just, Zig Ziglar always said, it's the transference of a feeling, and that feeling is confidence. And so 4 years of the academy gave me confidence, right? And so I think I'm more calm in most situations. You see salespeople all the time. They're super excited on day one. They're super excited when they start a meeting or a demo. And then when it gets down to the tough questions, pricing, availability, negotiation, whatever, then they freeze and they change. The demeanor changes. And the prospect I'm like, okay, well, you go ahead and send us some information on that. We'll get back to you. It's that change. They can't put their finger on it, but they're like, yeah, something just rubbed me wrong. He just doesn't seem as confident in his pricing, his availability, blah, blah, blah. And they go dark on you. So indirectly, I know that it's helped me a lot, but it's not the obvious answer, that you would think pertaining to sales, but the obvious answers usually are wrong.
Hey, friend, hope you're enjoying this episode of the podcast. And before we get back to it, if you're an established online business owner who's serious about unlocking your next level of income and impact and growth, I want you to watch my free $1 Million Online Business Training, where I walk through a 4-step roadmap I've personally used to sell well over $1 million of coaching, consulting, and courses online. It's going to make the journey of growing your business so much easier. I want to give this to you for free. All you got to do to access it is go to jasonmoss.com/growth. That's jasonmoss.com/GROWTH to get free access to this training right now. Now back to the episode. So for someone who obviously hasn't been through what you've been through, how do you build that confidence? Is that something that you can learn, or is it something that you're born with, or something that you have to have some crazy experience like the Air Force for years to be able to develop?
No, you can be confident in yourself. And what I try to help people with is understanding, an expert, and maybe expert's too strong of a word, but so if I'm one chapter ahead of you in the book, then I can teach you and help you. Okay. And so if you've been at something for a minute, you're better than the person you're talking to in that one thing. Right. And so you could be, standing in front of, pick a celebrity, LeBron James or, Elon Musk or whatever. If you're an expert in podcasting or copywriting or finances, stand your ground. Like, oh, these people are rich, blah, blah. In your lane, you're better than them. So be confident in your knowledge and your ability to serve them in that lane. And once if I can help you internalize that, boom, you're off to the races, because imposter syndrome is a real thing. And there's a lot of fake stuff on the internet and, people driving up in their Rolls Royce to the private jet and in the Rolex and whatever. And it's like, that's not how I define success. So don't let others define success for you. So if you're good in your lane, hold your head high and go help as many people with that one thing. Yesterday I saw an orthopedic surgeon for my knee, and, he couldn't help me with sinuses or nutrition. He can't help me with jiu-jitsu, right? If I bring him to train jiu-jitsu with me, he's going to be a blubbering idiot. But on my knee, that dude walked in, head held high, bam. He grabbed my leg, grabbed my foot, starts torquing it. Okay, let's go. So, everybody's strong in one area and everybody's weak in many, many others.
Yeah, love it. So you talk about this idea of human to human sales, and we talk a lot on this podcast about authenticity and the power of personal branding and so many aspects of, I think we're probably speaking the same language. Tell me more about what that means and how that applies to selling.
There's a guy wrote a book almost 100 years ago, Robert Collier. And, he said, we must enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. Okay. So that was true, in the dark ages, the early years of radio, print advertising, obviously, some direct mail, but that has never changed. Everything that we do, we must enter the conversation going on in the mind of our prospects. Okay. So you can use marketing automation, you can use AI, you can use screen scrapers, you can use analytic tools to slice and dice your demographics, and that rifle shot, that pinpointing can be very good. But I've always said we must deliver a powerful message in a powerful manner. Okay. And if you've got a good message, even if it falls on quote unquote the wrong person, it'll still get shared. And what I mean by that, I always tell people, my wife and I, we have 7 kids. And not once did I ever carry and deliver a child. Not once did I nurse any of those children. Okay. But I've seen it happen a whole lot. I've seen it happen for over 8 years as my wife nursed all these kids. And my wife liked those glider rockers, so it's not like a rocking chair that goes back, right? It kind of goes forward and back. And the ottoman, the little leg thing, slides forward and backward as well. And so today's marketer would say, well, we're only going to target, women between the ages of 22 and 38, with this, that, and the other, they follow Oprah and, Red Book magazine, blah, blah, blah. Okay. But her mother bought us that chair. Okay. So maybe they should target women between the ages of 48 and 72 that might have grandchildren, great grandchildren, that might be pregnant. Maybe they target the fathers, the husbands. You see what I'm saying? So you've got to be careful with our abilities now to really slice and dice, show me left-handed albino men over 6'2" that, also play the ukulele. Okay. I mean, I don't know how big that market is, but I'm sure they're out there. But you can refine yourself to death, right? And so just start with a great message and then start to refine it. Okay. And you do that by entering the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. We lose track. Like COVID, I think, accelerated things. Social media accelerated things. Broadband internet accelerated all of this. So it just keeps getting worse and worse in a lot of ways, but it's driven us into the screen, right? Drives us home, isolated. Even when we're out in public, I was at the doctor's office yesterday and everybody's face is down on their phone. I didn't make eye contact with one person. There were 12, 15 people in that lobby. So it's hard, to connect with humans today, but they're all striving for it. We all want to be seen and heard and understood. That's why we need a good message. We have to ask good questions. We must enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. What are they thinking? As they sit down at their desk and they log in, what are they looking for? What is that itch they're trying to scratch? And we've got to have a message that snaps them out of that stupor. Okay. And it's hard.
So what are some of the keys to that good message? When you look at people and help them with messaging, what are some of the keys?
Most of the time, people are too broad. It's like, who do you help? An example I use a lot, somebody sells bottled water. Well, everybody drinks water. The human body is 80% water. So everybody. No, everybody is not a prospect. So who's a prospect for your bottled water? Maybe, moms with kids, they're on the go. They're playing sports. Maybe it's athletic men that, belong to a certain gym or whatever. So you've got to, it's not everyone, and because yes, everybody needs water, but not everybody will pay for water. Okay. So I have people do an exercise and it's like, said, picture the person you're trying to reach, your ideal prospect. What are they doing right now? Let's say you're calling them. What are they doing when the phone rings? They're sitting at a desk. They have two monitors. They've got their iPhone sitting there, their iPad also sitting there. They're on a desktop. They got a laptop that they carry around as well. Two screens, dozens of tabs open, Facebook Messenger, Instagram messaging, text, WhatsApp, Telegram, Slack. Oh, and here comes your email, or here comes your phone call. Hi, how are you? What does that person think? Right then at that moment, are you starting off in a deficit, or are you putting your best foot forward? How do you enter the conversation going on in the mind of that prospect? How do you get that person's attention right then and there? Oh, I don't make cold calls. That's so yesterday. Fine. You're wrong, but fine. Let's say you're sending emails, again, dozens, hundreds of emails coming through, Amazon updates, all these other updates coming through. Oh, and some work updates. Oh, and some pitches. How do you stand apart? You're in my world. How many emails do you get a day with some agency saying somebody should be a guest on your show? 5 or 10 or 50 a week?
Yeah.
Right. I get 5 to 10 a day. I created a template. I just hit reply. Just boom, boom, boom. Because I can tell. So little caveat, I have a dash in my name, Wes-Schaeffer on LinkedIn. So, and I found this out on accident. I used to have a red telephone in my name, and I did it just to stand out in the sea of names, when you do a search and you see everybody's name. But I started noticing all the emails I would get, Facebook or LinkedIn messages, but also email that would say, "Hi, Wes, ? Star squiggly line," because it was taking that emoji or whatever and it couldn't translate it. So LinkedIn, I think, must be the source of like 90% of email scraping, because 90% of the messages I get are "Hi, Wes Dash." So when I get a Wes Dash, I just immediately hit reply, send the template, and delete the message, because I know it's just been scraped. But they're all the same. "Hi, I really love your episode with Jason Moss, and really the part where y'all talked about, human-to-human selling. Anyway, I thought Joe could add great value to your podcast." I'm like, is anybody thinking about me? What is my state of mind when I scroll through my 100 messages a day? How am I going to respond to that pitch? Okay, not well. But it works well enough. Everybody can be bought. So whatever they're selling their soul, screen scraping and blasting and cold emailing, they're like, well, I'm making enough money. I'm going to keep doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
But they remain invisible to me. I literally reply, template, send, delete. So
we talk about this quite a bit on this podcast, that there's almost this split happening in the marketing and sales world. But I'm more of a marketer, I would say, than a salesperson. And there's the race to the bottom, I would call it, with AI.
Yes.
And how do we do more volume, and how do we remove the humanity and just do more? That's kind of like one angle. And then the other angle is, how do we bring more humanity to the table? How do we increase intimacy? How do we increase personalization? How do we do less better? And it sounds like what I hear you saying is, in a world where we're so distracted, the ability to truly empathize with the person on the other side of the screen is the first step. And then being able to tailor your communication, be much more specific. And that might mean doing a lot less, but doing it better.
Yeah, empathy is a big word, right? And I think people still confuse it. It's not sympathy. Sympathy is, getting down in the muck with them, holding their hand through the muck. Empathy is walking a mile in their shoes, understanding the dilemma, understanding the path out, and giving them a hand, giving them a flashlight, helping them see the way to get through that muck, right? And so, yeah, how are you helping them do that? And, we have to be careful. There's two sides to every coin. We can spend too much time trying to get to know too much, and it can be creepy to get a message, "Hey, Wes, I see you like jujitsu and have a big family and you like ice cream and walks on the park and puppies. And, like, okay, dude, that's a little too much specification, but on a broad brush, I learned in 2006 from my sales coach, and I've taught it ever since, the frustrated, upset, concerned, angry approach. Okay. And it goes kind of like this. And I tell people, I equate it to, like, if you ever go deep sea fishing, you don't throw one line in the water, right? They set 5 or 10 or 15 hooks, and do you care which line the fish hits? Let's say you're going for marlin, but you get a 300-pound tuna, or you go, I don't want tuna, cut the line. No, you're like, okay, I'll take it, And so the frustrated, upset, concerned, angry is when I know enough about my ideal prospect that I can chum the water. So let's say I'm calling sales managers of mid-size, technology companies. So it's like, hey, Jason, I work with VPs of sales. I work with sales leaders who are frustrated with salespeople making excuses. They're upset that despite giving them all the technology they want, they're still not making enough dials. They're concerned about predictability and visibility into a profitable pipeline. And some of them are just downright angry that despite putting forth their best effort, really coddling even their salespeople, they still don't think they're going to hit their number on a regular basis. Jason, I don't know if that applies to you, but I mean, like, are you wrestling with any of those things right now? And that's my pitch, right? It has been since 2006. And I've had guys go, were you just listening to my sales meeting? But it's just human nature. And so I know what people typically deal with. Let's say I'm selling jujitsu training. Hey, Wes, are you frustrated with people passing your guard? Are you upset that despite getting in a dominant position, your submissions suck? Are you concerned about cardio, as you get older and wearing yourself out, chasing these younger, smaller opponents? Are you just like downright angry? Despite 8 years, you're still a miserable excuse of jujitsu and you should probably just take up quilting? Yes, that's me.
You got me.
How do you know? Because we all have the same problems, So once you know the typical issues, and so, and it may be a bad time, whatever, but, hey, call me later, whatever. But nobody says if I'm calling sales leaders, and really in any industry, and it's good to kind of niche down, but I can call any sales leader with those frustrated, upset, concerned, angry, and 100% of them will go, yeah, those are issues. They may not be ready, willing, or able to talk right at that moment. Okay. They may not want to admit it right now, but everybody has those issues. So if you can just start with that broad brush. So that's one of the first things that I have my clients work on. So what are your frustrated, upset, concerned, angry? And that gets them thinking about, I want to get them away from trying to boil the ocean, right? So like who would buy water? Parents who are frustrated with kids always saying, I'm thirsty, mommy. And I got to stop by the store and pay through the nose for bottled water at the 7-Eleven. They're upset that despite buying, fancy thermoses and whatever, the kids never seem to fill them up. They're concerned about, I could say the environment. So maybe we switch it around. Maybe we're selling those thermoses, right? So they're concerned about the environment. So they want to have something that's refillable, and they're just downright angry. The kids just waste money and drink half a water bottle and throw it away. They think their parents are made of money, so yes. So, okay, here, buy my thermos.
Yeah.
So
love that. And it's super practical and actionable. Yeah. So let's shift over to the sales call. Let's say we've got the messaging dialed in. We get people, we get someone on the phone. They're interested in potentially working with us. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make when it comes to that discovery conversation?
Men are the worst at this. Okay. But all salespeople do it. But men are the worst. Are you married?
No.
But I'm sure you've seen it. You've heard it. There's scenes on movies. There's TikTok, videos where the wife will come in and say, I got to get this off my chest. I don't need you to solve any problems. I just need to talk. Because husbands, men, we want to solve things, and I'm being stereotypical, but in broad brushes, this is how things work. Women tend to be more empathetic, okay? Better conversationalists, better listeners, okay? Men, we want to just hammer, I must go hit something, and so we salespeople overall, men especially, we jump into solving. We jump into diagnosing and prescribing before we've done a thorough evaluation. Our prospects need to feel heard and seen and understood. It's literally the bedside manner. I'm a little hesitant. I called my buddy. He's retiring right now. He does jiu-jitsu with me, retiring as Navy SEAL. He was a Navy corpsman at first. He's been concerned about my knee. He's like, so I called him. I said, and this was literally like a 5-minute appointment. I mean, they did x-rays and the guy he did tweak my knee. Okay. Yeah, it's nothing. We can't really treat it, blah, blah, blah. We can do a big workup, but I don't think you need it. But he was cool. I don't know. His demeanor was fine, but it was like super quick. So I told my buddy and he's like, okay, I'd still like you to get a workup on circulation, blah, blah, blah. Maybe see. I'm like, okay, I'll go do that. But when we rush to a diagnosis and prescription, that's when we want a second opinion. Now, again, we've got to juggle. A prospect may take an hour of your time and you can't help them. Okay. So you got to learn when to kind of shift, but in general, we have to let the prospect speak. And for the longest time, I would always say that whoever is asking the questions is in control of the conversation. And that is true. Okay. But amateur salespeople will use that as an excuse to interrogate. What's going on, Jason? How'd you get that microphone? How long have you been using that? What kind of power does it use? What kind of cable is it connected to? How do you clean it? Like, damn. So it's got to be conversational, and so you have to feel like I give a crap and that we are addressing something that is truly a concern of yours. But also we as the salesperson, I call it hurt and rescue. Since I'm calling you, you're not as concerned about solving the problem as I am right now. So I have to scratch a little bit, pick at the scab, and make you go, oh, wow, that is a bigger issue than I thought. Okay. And so there's a lot of nuance there.
And how to hop in, how do you do that?
There's a lot of nuance. We as salespeople have to adjust how we sell to match how you buy. Okay. And how you buy, if it's a cold call, literally how you answer the phone tells me something about you. Hi, this is Jason, accounting, Jason Moss. Hello. Hi. Oh yeah. It's got a flight 2222 to Chicago. Please. Hey, hold on one second. Okay. Hey, sorry about that. Hey, this is Jason. Okay. Yeah. Can I get a Big Mac? Hey, hold on one second. You got one Happy Meal? Yeah. One of the Happy Meals. Hey, what's going on? Oh, you with your family? Yeah, it's fine. We're going to the game. What? Okay. The fact you'll answer the car while you're in the car going through the drive-thru tells me something about you. Oh, you're a family man. Oh, you're okay. You're multitasking. It may be a great time, may be a horrible time. So are you very formal? Are you very soft-spoken? Hi, this is Jason. This is Jason. Had a great day. How can I help you? How can I make your day better? All of those things. I am adjusting how I engage with you right then and there. Most salespeople would do the same thing. Hi, how are you? It's the same approach. Like, I'm hungry and I got 5 hungry kids. What do you mean? Hey, can you call me back? Okay. Or I can have fun with it. Hey, can you save? I like the dinosaur. Can you save one of the, I'll send you money. Give me one of the dinosaurs in the Happy Meal. What? Dude, you're crazy. Who is this? So can you adjust on the fly because we have to adjust how we sell to match how the prospect buys. And it tells me something, your tonality, your volume, your rate of speech, the formality, do you use your title? So all of that matters. And it's not something you just learn right away. Everybody wants the quick solution. Adjusting your tonality, matching their rate of speech, having the frustrated, upset, concerned, angry. You can learn all that. We can learn that in a day. And that'll make you 80 or 90% better than your competition if you can do just that. But then that 10%, for 9.99%, you never get it perfect, is where the real money is made. Okay. Because I tell people selling is a zero-sum game. Like, oh, it's a win-win. No. Golf, if I come in second at the Masters, I still get about $1 million, and I get invited back next year. And the winner, is 0.025% better every day for 4 days. Okay. And they get an extra $800,000 or $1 million to get their name on their trophy. Their name is in lights for all of eternity because they were 0.25% better each day. But in sales, if I'm 0.25% better than you today, I get 100% of the commission, right? It's rare. The company doesn't say, well, Jason, you did a good job, so we're going to give you, half the deal. It's like, no. It's like if you were 0.26% better yesterday, you'd have this sale. So it's a zero-sum game. So you got to understand what you're up against, okay? And you better do every step like it matters, because it does. But
so for someone who's looking to get better at this, I mean, I'm speaking to the coach, the consultant, the online business owner who's got a million different plates they're spinning in the air. They're hearing everything you're saying, and they're asking themselves the question, what's the 80-20 here? If I had to focus on one piece of this that would make an outsized impact in my selling, what would that be? And where do you suggest that people really dial in order to make the biggest impact on their ability to sign more clients and close more deals? Hey friend, hope you're enjoying this episode of the podcast. And before we get back to it, if you're an established online business owner who's serious about unlocking your next level of income and impact and growth, I want you to watch my free $1 Million Online Business Training, where I walk through a 4-step roadmap I've personally used to sell well over $1 million of coaching, consulting, and courses online. It's going to make the journey of growing your business so much easier. I want to give this to you for free. All you got to do to access it is go to jasonmoss.com/growth. That's jasonmoss.com/GROWTH to get free access to this training right now. Now back to the episode.
The biggest, loudest gurus you see online say, focus on the close. 80% of the effort should be focused on the closed. That's where the money is made. That's where you differentiate yourself. The sale begins when you get no. It's like, okay, I made these coins years ago. Do you know Jeffrey Gitomer?
Mm-mm.
The Sales Bible. You're a young buck, huh? Man, I got gray hair. Man. If I grow my beard, it's gray, man. I'm a grandpa.
If I had more hair, you'd probably see a little bit more gray, but
all right, let me see. Stand by.
For those of you who are listening on the audio, Wes is going to grab a book, I'm assuming.
The Sales Bible. Jeffrey Gitomer, okay? Old school dude. I had him on my podcast. Great guy. And he's older, I think he's in the 70s now, but smart guy, funny. I got to meet him years ago, but he had a coin. And so I made a coin and I mailed it to him, and he's like, I love it, but I talk about how to open relationships, right? I printed that on the coins. Open relationships versus closing sales. And so if you can just open better, okay, you're going to have so many more opportunities, easy opportunity. Again, my sales coach, he said there's 2 types of sales, the easy ones and those you don't get. If you're really fighting tooth and nail and adjusting things and making exceptions, it's just, what a pain. Open well. Start things, like golf. It's like, if I can Okay, let's say instead of 350 yards, I hit it 250 yards, but I hit the fairway every time. But my 350, every third shot is 350 yards in the fairway, but the other two are in the woods. That 250 guy is going to beat the 350. But it's not sexy. A 3-foot putt counts the same as a 350-yard drive. But what does everybody do? They buy the $800 driver and they go out in the range and smash it, smash it, smash it. But golf is by design. You're supposed to putt the ball 36 times. If you just shoot par, you're going to putt 36 times. And you're going to hit your driver at most 14 times. By design. But people won't go putt. Right? You use the putter more than 100%, 100, whatever the math is, 130% more times than the driver. But people won't go practice that. So they'll focus on the close. It's like focusing on your drive. Okay, I'm going to take your money every Sunday morning. Yeah, you'll outdrive me sometimes. When you can find the ball, it'll be longer than mine. But you're going to be frustrated. But nobody wants to do, they're all looking for the shiny, fancy new gimmick.
Yeah, it's so easy to focus on that part of the sale. And I think the issue for a lot of folks and the reason why there's so much attention there is because it's very easy to draw a direct line between I say this thing and then someone pays me money. It's right there at the end of the call versus it's harder to see how some of the things you might do earlier on in the conversation or in your marketing before someone even gets on the call, how those things tie into the close.
Yes.
That's at least part of my theory why there's so much focus on that back half of the conversation. So I love this idea of opening well. How do we do that? What are some, maybe a couple tips that you can share with people to do that more effectively?
Well, we've been talking about it, knowing your prospect, knowing their pain, entering the conversation going on in their mind, opening with that frustrated, upset, concerned, angry, because you can use that. Let's say you've got an email sequence. Say you're running some ads. You wouldn't address all 4 of those. Because when I leave voicemails, I'll leave a series of 4 voicemails, and I talk about just one of those: frustrated, upset, concerned, angry. Okay, so your ads can focus on that, and then out of those 4, you can see which one's resonating with your ad set, and then start to slice and dice that. Maybe beef up the others that aren't, or just double down on the ones that are. But at least when I send emails, I'll focus on just one. Boom, boom, boom. Frustrated, upset, concerned, angry. And so it's just, I think, slowing it down, understanding what your prospects are up against. And just really truly seeking to serve, because if you can scratch that itch, they're going to listen. They're going to go with you. People, and it's not these fancy talk tracks. I mean, I've had NLP experts on my show. I've had hypnotists, and I use the same lines. I've been in sales since 1997. 2006, I learned that opening script. I've used it. I've taught it nonstop now, going on for 19 years. I was still in corporate America for a while. I've sold $1 million of hardware and software to Google back in the day. Probably that much test and measurement equipment to Sprint in the early 2000s, around 2003. $635,000 coaching consulting to Dell in 2007. I mean, I've sold software now to preschool owners, chiropractors, financial advisors, mortgage brokers, realtors. I mean, with this same process, but what happens as entrepreneurs, we get bored. I was just telling my daughter the other day the story, when I wrote a book on Infusionsoft back in the day before they were Keep. And I had a booth at one of their shows, and the lead singer for Chicago, Jason Schaeffer, came up to the booth. And we got to talking, and he's very entrepreneurial. He bought my book, and it was so funny. He's like, "Hey, sign this." And I said, "Dude, you should sign my book," And, but he was a cool dude. We stayed in touch. He came on the podcast, and they came and played Temecula here, Pechongo. It's the largest Indian reservation in California. Huge casino, and it's 15 minutes from me. And this was, 11, 12 years ago. But he got me tickets, got me backstage passes, super cool. And, the founding members of Chicago are older than my dad, right? They're in their late 70s now. And so, so a decade ago, they were, late 60s, knocking on 70. So they had every excuse to just phone it in, right? It's a smaller venue. I mean, it seats 1,200 people. It's a nice venue, right? But it's not the Superdome, right? And so they could, Saturday in the park, I think it was the 4th of July. Okay, thanks everybody for coming. Because everybody there was old, because Chicago was making hits in the 60s. But they didn't. They sounded perfect. They sounded like I had my AirPods in and I was streaming the album, from the studio. They were perfect. Okay. But at that point, they had probably sung Saturday in the Park for 40 years. The more I think about it, it's like, that's why I'm not a musician. I couldn't do the exact same thing, but then I'm like, well, I'm in sales. I have the same opening line. Maybe I could be a musician. I don't know. But they delivered the same quality, the same professionalism, the same attention to detail 40 and 50 years later. Okay. So do you have the dedication, the professionalism to deliver what works repeatedly for 50 years? Okay. Can you do it for 5 years? If you do it for 5 years, your life will change. Okay. For the better, forever. So find what works and keep doing it. Okay.
I love this conversation because there's so much focus on what's changing, especially with AI and all the shifts that are happening in the online world. And this is, I think, a call for everyone to get back to those fundamentals, the things that don't change.
Well, think about AI, garbage in, garbage out. Oh, it's all about the prompts. If you don't know the human nature well enough, you can't train your computer. You can't train your computer to be better than you. Okay. So do you understand? Can you give it the prompts? Hey, what happens if my prospect answers the phone and he has me on speaker while he's in the bathroom? Okay. That's a different approach than, Mr. Moss's office. How may I direct your call? People don't iterate, right? They don't refine it that much. I'll just give them all the same. Okay. Well, good luck with that. Your AI will be crappy because you're crappy. Hate to break it to you. So it's simpler it's simple, but not easy, right? I do a lot with jiu-jitsu. I'm working on a jiu-jitsu sales conference. And my instructor, he's about to turn 60, and he was number one in the world for his age and weight in like 2018, 2019, and he's beaten me 1,000 times. And out of those 1,000 times, none of them have been a fancy move you see on Instagram. So in football, right, he beat me by just handing it to the fullback and running it up the middle. Oh, 100 yards, boop, 100 yards, oop, 100, okay, 99 yards, not a double reverse, flea flicker, hook and ladder. No, run it up the middle. He's just that much better than me. Okay. But so that's no fun. I don't know. Winning games isn't fun. Winning your jiu-jitsu matches isn't fun. Closing the sale easily, quickly, without discounting. That's not fun. Okay. Then I can't help you. It's like, oh, I want to learn a triple reverse, okay, go somewhere else.
Yeah. What's old is new.
Yeah, literally.
So Wes, where can people find you if they want to connect with you on a deeper level?
Go to fixerwest.com. So I've rebranded. People couldn't spell the Sales Whisperer and they can't spell Wes Schaeffer. You're blessed. You got a good name. People, they could still mess it up, but less people mess up Jason Moss, right? But so fixerwest.com takes you to the website and check it out, right? I've got a CRM quiz there button because I do a lot with that, helping people get the right tools. But then there's a link to my 12 Weeks to Peak program, a link to my Inner Circle. I've got private help, small group help, on-demand training, the Make Every Sale program, but just go fixerwest.com. You can get my daily email from there. So just start there, see what resonates. And if you got questions, there's a link to my calendar, and it comes to me, right? Not an assistant. And so, I help you the best I can.
Thank you, Wes, for being here. I appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me.